Welcome back to mrdannylim.blogspot.sg. Today we will be exploring highest common factor, the application question. Okay, let's look at the question. A group of 120 girls and 150 boys took part in a camping competition. They were divided equally into mixed groups. Each group has the same number of boys and girls. Part A, what was the largest number of groups that could be formed? Part B, how many boys and girls were there in each group? Okay, now before we even begin to do such questions, the first few questions we need to ask ourselves when we encounter such a question is, what are we doing here? What is exactly happening here? So we have two numbers. We have 120 girls, and then we also have 150 boys. Now we're going to divide them into groups. Imagine like in your school, there's a event or there's an activity. There's a certain number of girls, certain number of boys. You need to divide them equally into groups. Okay. Now this one, the easiest to divide is one group. Correct. You can have one group, one whole big group of 120 girls and 150 boys all together. You can also have two groups, 60 girls and then 75 boys in one group. And then the other group is also 60 girls and 75 boys. Okay, now what we want is to find the maximum number of groups that we can have. Now, if we are looking for the maximum number of groups, we're actually dividing. So when we are dividing, we are looking for highest common factor. Okay, highest common factor because we are dividing this by 120 by a number, dividing 150 by a number. So if you remember what we did last week, we used the prime factorization. So let's do the prime factorization. 120, 150, one line down, one line across. The first one we can divide by 2, which will have 60 and 75. Now 60 and 75 we can divide by 5, okay, which will give us 1, 12, and then this one is 1, 5. Okay, now then we can also divide this by 3, which is 4, and this one is 5. Now after this, cannot divide anymore because they don't have any common things to divide. So the HCF is actually, okay, HCF of 120 and 150 is actually 2 times 3 times 5. Okay, which is equals to 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 5 will give you 30. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that I can divide 120 into 30 groups. I can also divide 150 into 30 groups. Okay, so this is our answer for part A. So answer for part A is actually 30 groups. Then let's look at part B. Part B, how many boys and girls were there in each group? Now this one is easy because we know that we can divide by 30. So 120 divided by 30 will give me 4. And then we get 150 divided by 30, which will give us 5. So the total number is actually 4 plus 5, which gives you 9. So B actually is 9 boys and girls in one group. Okay, so for highest common factor is actually easy. You just need to remember when we look at the question, is usually about dividing into groups. I have certain number of apples, certain number of pears. I want to divide them into equal number of bags. Okay, so you have to find a common number that they can divide. And this common number is usually the highest common number because you want to divide as many as possible. Okay, so this is the type of question that we are going to have for word problem for highest common factor. Okay, it's a very short lesson. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. See you again. Bye.